Ahoy hoy, my name is Removal Sanity and this is my review of The Last Station for the Xbox One. All my reviews are 100% my own opinion and I'm not being paid for it. So, what is The Last Station? The best way I could describe this game is that it is a side-scrolling shooter set during an apocalypse. It has similarities to other apocalypses. For instance, there are a variety of monsters waiting to attack you, loads of abandoned areas to explore, and a distinct lack of weapons and ammo to try and make it a little bit more challenging. So what is the premise? Well, the premise is an unusual one. You are basically an ordinary train conductor caught in the middle of this apocalypse. You coast around the remains of civilization, exploring infested areas in search of supplies and got people to save. All the meantime, you also have to maintain the tracks and your train as you continue to coast from location to location. And this leads me on to the gameplay of the game. Now, the final station has a really addictive gameplay and a unique take on apocalypse style games. The levels are almost puzzle-like in terms of how you have to find the right strategy to overcome what can be seemingly overwhelming odds, and you do have a very limited number of tools at your disposal, so you can easily find yourself running out of ammo almost quarter way through the game, and you really have to find a way around past level, in some cases of using melee attacks or actual furniture that's around it. And this is also compounded by there are a variety of different types of enemies as well. So for instance, the actual bigger guys, they're a bit slower and you can normally punch a couple of them and get rid of them quite easily within about 3 or 4 punches. The smaller guys are really fast and take 2 or 3 shots to the head before they go down. There's a bigger, huger, beefy guys that if you get too close will kill you with an instant punch. And then there's the fact that they normally end up travelling in packs of 2s and 3s, and during the later levels can end up even in bigger amounts. So you have to be careful what strategy you apply and whether you go forward, go back, or try and work a way to lure them towards you so you can quickly leg it past them. And this was a really fun thing to do. During the combat missions, you will often find survivors, and these survivors will join you on your train, so it is imperative you search their levels thoroughly, because as you journey on the train, you are forced to use your own supplies to keep these survivors alive until you get to a safe zone. Now, the train itself is only a few cars, but this part of the actual game turns into a micromanaging system. The train itself breaks down on a regular basis, and you have to go through a variety of different obstacles and checklists to make sure the train is always moving. At the same time, you're micromanaging the passengers' health and hunger levels. Now, obviously the health and hunger levels, you'll normally get this from the combat levels themselves, or you can pick that up at the safe zones. This is kind of like a break. I found this part of the game a little repetitious. It was great for the first couple of times, but it gets a little bit boring. Now, don't get it wrong, they kind of change up the train levels by adding a new puzzle which you've got to keep continuously. In one station I had to have a battery and I had to keep reducing the battery from overheating on a regular basis, but at the same time my passengers were dying of hunger, so I had to keep going back towards them and give them food so they wouldn't die and they'd make it to the safe zone. Besides micromanaging your survivors, the train also gives you the opportunity to craft using the resources you found on the combat levels to make more ammo, food and health, which in turn you can use against on your survivors or take with you to the next combat level. And this is quite a nifty little thing, and it is helpful as the resources are quite scarce, and waiting till you get to a survivor zone is very hard to do, and you'll find yourself struggling to do this. Now, there is no difficulty setting for this game, so managing your resources is imperative. Now, after a few combat zones, you finally make it to a safe zone, and this is where the story actually kind of kicks in and the game gives you its narrative. Once you hit a safe zone, you're instantly rewarded for every passenger that survives. So you can see how imperative this really is, and is one of the things you really do need to manage carefully to get those goodies, which will help you later on in the levels. The safe zones is basically where you can catch your breath and listen to the narrative that's being played. Well, actually, read the narrative that's being played out in front of you. Here you can upgrade your arsenal, chat with other survivors, and talk to the townsfolk. But the townsfolk have very little in terms of what they're saying, I find. Most of them don't know what's going on and just basically tell you that in a variety of different ways. I use these safe zones to upgrade to shotguns, give myself bigger ammo, putting a sight on there to help me get through the more harder levels. There is an underlying story here, and once you get into it a little bit more in depth, which is during the later levels, it does become really interesting. The beginning, not so much. I found it a little bit boring, but do persevere and you will see what I mean. So what about the graphics of the game? Well, the graphics of the game is 16-bit, but don't let that fool you. The graphics have been done really well, and they have provided a fantastic atmospheric effect to every level they have done. There is a number of different levels, from crumbling, dimly lit caverns, old train tunnels that are flooded, vivid snow villages, and towns filled with corpses and garbage. It is being done really well here. For 16-bit, it's crisp, it's bright where it needs to be bright, it's gloomy and dark where it isn't. As you can see here, him walking around, that little light in the background, while still trying to maintain that effect, gives it a beautiful little thing. The background itself is well drawn, and the inspirational backdrops to the train journeys are beautifully done. I really do like the graphics here, and the development team should be commended. The only thing I would say about the graphics is the text boxes. As you can see, the Tory styled with a text-like narrative, and if you are watching on a 49-inch screen like I normally do in the living room, this can be a bit too small for you to see or read what's going on. So I would prefer if they could provide an option maybe just to increase it or enlarge it, because it is a little bit hard. I did find myself having to move forward towards the TV to read what was being said. Apart from that though, it's crisp, it's clear, it's bright and vivid where it needs to be, and dark and gloom where it also needs to be. Overall, really well done. And this leads me to the sound of the game. Now, the music has been done sparingly. In fact, during the combat zones, it's almost non-existent. Where it's not a combat zone, it's a very solemn effect which works perfectly with the actual game, and it creates the perfect mood for the areas which you visit. When it's in a combat zone, as it says, it is reduced, it is watered down to a very basic background effect, and this is done really well. The basic gunshots are brilliant, the shotgun shots are brilliant, the deaths, the explosions, all crisp and clear, and absolutely a joy to listen to on headphones or through your TV. If it's done sparingly and if it's done for a right reason, I do enjoy this way of going around towards a game. Some games it doesn't work, some games it does. In this particular game, I think it does. It helps create the mood for where you need it to be. So if there is something dark happens, they will throw in a bit of a dark, brooding music. If it's just combat where you're going around trying to blast things away, it it does provide that. And when there is like little respites on the train journeys and that, it does kind of ramp it up to give you a little bit more of a euphoric feeling. Overall, again, the developers have done really well here. They thought about it. Different levels gives you different sounds. It's not just a repetitious one. So it is being done rather well. And again, I must give them applause. They know what they're doing, it seems, here, and I did enjoy listening to the music as well as playing the game. And this leads me on to the rating of the game. Now, I rate games in order of avoid, rent, great purchase, and must own. My rating for the final station for the Xbox One is a great purchase, and this is for the following reasons. The game itself provides a fresh new look on apocalyptic types games, and the side shooter works incredibly well. The only thing I would say is that it doesn't really give you a tutorial, so you have to kind of work things out on your own. Also, the game itself is around 6 to 8 hours, depending how quickly you go through it and whether you manage to get certain survivors to the safe zone. So you might want to go back there and try and do that because there are achievements. The game is enjoyable. It is thoroughly enjoyable, and it's not a bad price either. Currently, right now, it's about 12 UK pounds, or I think, don't quote me, 15 US dollars. So you are getting a bit of oomph for your buck. It is enjoyable. The game does have its slight problems, as I said. There is some slight areas which, whilst it's, I wouldn't say they're boring, they're a little bit tedious, but once you get into the combat zones, you completely forget about it and you thoroughly enjoy it. The narrative is a little slow to start off with, but once you keep going and persevere, it does become apparent and it does give you something to look forward to near the end. Now, I'm not going to spoil it to you, but this game does have a very large WTF ending, and I was left shocked by it. I'm not going to tell you how it is. I would recommend going and play the game. It is enjoyable, and for anyone who likes side shooting monsters, this is the game for you. It is something unique and something different. I do recommend having it a go. What I would say though, if you're not into side shooter, this may not be for you. But for the price, the amount you get out of it, it's well done and well worth it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed this review. If you do, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on what it is. And actually do, tell me what you think about it. Am I being a bit too lenient? Am I being a bit too aggressive with it? Am I actually pointing out wrong things? Please tell me. I do like to hear your opinions on the matter. Well, until next time, have a great time gaming.